everyone. So I wanted to do a different type of video. It's kind of a get ready with me video, kind of a tutorial. It's just me getting ready to go to a doctor's appointment and talking to you guys while I'm doing it. I have an appointment with my oncologist today. It's my pre-chemo appointment. So I just wanted to film and kind of get a little chatty with you guys as I was getting ready. It's using mostly drugstore products. There are a couple of things that I didn't use that aren't drugstore, and there's also kind of a mini tutorial about how I did my eyebrows using Anastasia's Dipbrow pomade, which is a fantastic option, although not drugstore, for those who have completely lost their eyebrows. I have barely any eyebrow hairs hanging on, and this is a fantastic product to use. So I just did kind of a simple, very easy to replicate, bronzy, kind of daytime glam eye, I guess. It's a little more dramatic than kind of my everyday makeup, but it's still very daytime appropriate. So if you guys want to see how I did this, then keep watching. Hello. So I'm going to be applying first an eyeshadow base, kind of in the same line as the paint pot, but this one's a drugstore option. It is the Maybelline Color Tattoo 24-hour eyeshadow. It's just a cream eyeshadow, but it works as a primer. This is in the shade Bad to the Bronze. That's what it looks like. They're really similar in consistency to the MAC paint pots, but they're a drugstore option. So I'm just going to be using my finger to apply that all over the lid. And I'm kind of taking it up a little bit into my crease, but no further than that. I don't want to take it too far up because it is a darker color. Like with my MAC Painterly paint pot, I would take that all the way up to my brow bone, but I'm not doing that in this case because this color is a lot darker than Painterly is. So this is just going to act as a base for my eyeshadow. Because it's dark, it's also going to help with the smokiness a little bit. Eyeshadow primer is just to help your eyeshadow stay in place a lot longer than if you didn't use an eyeshadow primer. So I'm going to take just a fluffy blending brush and blend out the edges of that color tattoo. Even though I'm going to have eyeshadow over the top of it, I still don't want any harsh lines because they could possibly still show through. For eyeshadow, I'm going to use both drugstore options and Makeup Geek eyeshadows. Even though Makeup Geek products aren't found at the drugstore, they are still a really affordable option. They're a fraction of the price of MAC or any comparable eyeshadows. So I'll be using just a couple of those. Right now, I'm going to take this Wet n Wild palette called Comfort Zone. It's probably their best selling palette. It's super versatile and it's got a lot of shades in it that are dupes for MAC. Like this one right here is a dupe for MAC's Club. They're almost the same. So I'm gonna take this this kind of bronzy shade right here that says crease, and I'm actually gonna put that all over my lid, over the top of where I did that color tattoo. And I'm just using a flat shader brush. So I'm then going to take a Makeup Geek eyeshadow and a fluffy brush. I'm going to take this one right here called Creme Brûlée. It's just a kind of warmer matte brown. And I'm going to put that just above that darker bronzy shade and blend it into my crease. I'm taking that same fluffy brush with no extra product on it, and I'm just going above that Creme Brûlée shade and blending out any harsh lines. Now I'm going to take a smaller, fluffier brush, and I'm going to take that darkest brown in the Wet n Wild palette, and I'm going to put that kind of in the outer part of my eyelid just to add a little more definition. And then I'm going to take that other blending brush and blend it out. For eyeliner, I'm going to be using the Maybelline Eye Studio Gel Eyeliner in the color Blackest Black, and I'm just using the little brush that came with it, although it's not my favorite. And I'm just going to be doing kind of a little tiny winged eyeliner. So for some reason I can't talk. It's really hard for me to talk while I'm doing winged liner because it takes so much concentration because I'm not that great at it. So forgive me for not saying anything while I'm doing this. I'll just speed you up while I'm editing this so you don't have to endure the awkward silence. So I'm not going to be using mascara because I'm going to be applying false lashes, and the only reason I would use mascara when applying false lashes is to blend my own lashes in with the falsies, but I only have a few lashes left on each eye, so it's kind of pointless. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply the false lashes. The ones I'm using are by Velour lashes. This is the packaging that they come in. They're not in here because I've used them already. They're in this style, Are Those Real? That's what they're called. And they're just a really natural looking lash. They are not from the drugstore. I do have drugstore lashes, but they're not my favorite, so I'm going to be using these instead. Alright, so time for my face. I've already moisturized. I moisturized before I started on my eyes. So I'm going to go in with my primer. I don't have a drugstore primer, so I'm going to be using my Too Faced Hangover Primer. Just one pump. And I'm going to be putting that all over my face. This is just such a nice primer. It feels so good on the skin. And it smells really good too. But I've found, especially for dry skin, it just gives such a nice base for foundation. My chemo skin has been loving this. For foundation, I'm going to be using my all-time favorite drugstore foundation, and it's the Covergirl Outlast Stay Fabulous 3-in-1 foundation. It claims it's a primer, concealer, and as well as a foundation. Basically what that means is it just has like phenomenal coverage. I'm going to take about a pump and a half of it. And I'm in the shade 805 Ivory, which is the most pale shade in the line. Story of my life. Oh, and I'm just using my beauty blender. They do make dupes of the beauty blender. I know Real Techniques has one that people say is really good. I've never tried it, but there are cheaper versions of the beauty blender out there. And I'm just doing kind of 2 light layers of this. If you go too heavy with this foundation, it does tend to get cakey. So that's why I just do 2 light layers. Oh, I'm so pale. And I also take it down onto my neck a little bit just so if this color is really good for me. But just so you don't have that jawline makeup line, because nobody likes that. And I usually just do 1 layer of foundation on my nose. I do 2 layers everywhere else, and then just 1 layer on my nose. For concealer, I'm going to be using the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind. I haven't used this concealer a whole lot, so I'm not really sure how I like it, but I'm going to use it today. And I'm just going in kind of a triangle, as usual. When you're doing your under eye concealer, you never want to go just like that. You want to take it further down and then blend it in. Not only will it act as a highlight that way, but also if you just do like your under eye circles, it's going to be more obvious that you have makeup on underneath your eyes, because there's going to be kind of that line of where you just put it on your under eye circles. So taking it down farther, I usually take it to like the bottom of my nostrils and then go up. Doing that will help blend it in better and make it less obvious that you're wearing concealer. I'm gonna be blending that out with my beauty blender. I'm also gonna take that on my nose just a little bit. This isn't very much lighter than my skin tone. I'm just gonna use it for the extra coverage, and then take it down the bridge of my nose and on my chin, and then on my Cupid's bow, and that'll help highlight a little bit. So I don't have a setting powder from the drugstore, so I'm just gonna go in with my handy dandy Hourglass Ambient lighting powder. And I'm going to use that to set my concealer. Since this foundation is on the matte side, I'm not going to use the powder to set my entire face. I'm just using it to set my under eye concealer so it doesn't crease. For bronzer, I'm going to take this one from NYC. It's their Sunny Bronzer. And I'm not going to contour, I'm just going to use it to warm up my face. So I'm going to take it on a fluffy powder brush. I'm still going to put it in the places that I would normally put contour, but I'm not doing a harsh contour line. I'm just using it to warm up my face and give myself a little bit of color, since I'm vampire pale. And I'm just going in oval motions right under my cheekbone. Again, same places I would do contour. I'm just not really contouring. I'm just warming up the skin. So I'm taking it also on my temples. Basically anywhere that the sun naturally hits your face. So temples, kind of right under the cheekbone, and then along the hairline. And just like I would with the contour, if I were doing it that way, I'm not taking it too far down to my mouth. I don't want bronzer all the way down to here. And so I'm stopping about 2 fingers before my mouth. I'm going to be using a Makeup Geek blush in the shade Spellbound. It's just a really pretty neutral pink and goes with virtually any look. And I'm just going to use an angled contour brush to apply that. Tapping off the excess. And I'm just going really light with it because this blush is really pigmented. So I'm just going in kind of lightly, and then I can build it up. And I'm starting on the apples of my cheeks and then blending my way back. It is just really a pretty shade. I like it. I have several Makeup Geek blushes and I love them all. They are phenomenal. So I'm gonna take that fluffy brush again. I'm gonna wipe off any excess product that's on there, and I'm just gonna run that on my cheeks close to my nose to blend out my blush. So since I don't have a drugstore highlighter, I'm actually going to use an eyeshadow to do my cheek highlight. I'm going to be using this shade by Makeup Geek called Shimma Shimma, and it actually acts as a beautiful highlight shade. I'm just applying that right to the top of my cheeks and kind of blending it up into the temple. So that's a trick that you can do if you don't have a highlighter, but you do have a shimmery eyeshadow that is in the same color range as a highlighter. You can always use that. So next I'm going to finish up my eyes. I'm going to take a pencil brush and that same bronzy shade from the Wet n Wild palette, this one right here, and I'm going to run that along my lower lash line. And I'm starting in the center because I want most of the product to be on the outside. So I'm going from the center of the eye all the way to the outer eye, but I am going to take that all the way to the inner eye. I just want most of the product to be on the outer portion. I love putting eyeshadow on my lower lash line. I do it probably 99% of the makeup looks that I do. And especially now that I don't have really any lower lashes left, I don't want there to be absolutely nothing under there. I don't want the fact that I don't have any lashes left to stand out, and so I always make sure that I put some shadow underneath there. Then I'm going to take the darker shade from that same palette, the one that we use kind of in the outer V. Whew. I'm going to run that on the outer half of the lower lash line, just to kind of deepen it up a little. I look so strange without eyebrows. It's weird. But it is time for eyebrows. I'm gonna try out the Honest, well, not try out, I've used it before, but this is a new shade for me. So I'm gonna try it and see if it works. It's the Anastasia Dipbrow. It's in the shade Medium Brown. It's the same shade that I've been using in the pencil form in the Brow Wiz, but the Dipbrow tends to go on a smidge darker than the pencil. So I'm gonna give it a go and see how I like it. And I'm just using an Anastasia brush that has an angled brush on one end and a spoolie on the other. I'm gonna comb out what brows I have. And then with the Dipbrow, you kind of want to treat it as like the same as a gel liner. You don't want to get too much product on your brush at one time. So I just kind of dab it in there and then wipe the excess off on the inner side. So hopefully you can see that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start about 2/3 of the way in on the bottom. And I'm just using really light strokes and drawing where I want my eyebrow to be. And I'm taking it down to the tail. I'm going to do the same thing on the top part. I'm not going to press as hard. And then I'm just going to kind of fill that in. I have more hairs left on my left eyebrow than I do on my right, and it's really frustrating. Not that I want them to disappear, it's just, it's weird having a lot fewer on one eye than the other. It makes it a little bit more difficult. So then I'm going to take any extra product that I have and kind of comb it upwards. And then I'm going to take it down toward the front. I'm not adding any additional product. I'm just taking what I have on the brush and running it toward the front. And then I'm kind of filling in the middle. I love this stuff. It's a lot easier to use once you get the hang of it. And it's water resistant. So you can wear this, you can go swimming, you can do whatever. And the stuff won't move. So what I'm doing now is I got a little bit more product on the brush and I'm kind of filling in the brow and pressing a little harder, and that creates lines that look more like hair. I don't want to completely color in my brow because that would look extremely fake. What I want is it to look as natural as possible, even though I'm virtually having to draw on my entire brow. Easier said than done. This stuff takes a lot of practice. I'm still working on it to get it exactly the way that I like, but it gets a lot easier the more you use it. So let me zoom you in so you can see what I've done so far. So as you can see, it's not one solid color. I have, where I filled it in the middle, I used kind of a heavier hand and more like brush stroke type application, and that gives the effect of hairs when you may not really have any there, as it is in my case. So then I'm going to get a tiny bit more product on my brush, and I'm going to do the same thing up towards the front, where I'm just using kind of brush strokes and then working my way back until it's filled in the way I like it. And then I'm actually going to take any excess off on the back of my hand And I'm gonna kind of take the brush sideways and draw in the front of my brow. So basically I'm doing it the same way that I would do a pencil at the front, by taking kind of brush strokes upward and then brushing out. And I'm going to wipe all the excess product off, and I'm going to kind of blend that in. The closer in towards my nose, the lighter it gets. So then I'm going to take a cream concealer. This one is not a drugstore one. I don't have a drugstore cream concealer. NYX sells cream concealers that are really similar to MAC ones, and I've heard great things about them, so that's an option. I do not have one, so I'm just using a YSL cream concealer, and I'm taking it on a cream shader brush, and I'm just going to start that at the front and kind of run it along the bottom of the eyebrow. I'm just carving it out a little so that any mistakes I made are not visible, because kind of at the front, as you're blending it out, it can kind of, since I have my brush turned sideways, it's kind of hard to get it in a straight line underneath. So this just takes care of that, and then I'm just going to use my finger and blend it in. So there's the finished eyebrow. And again, that's using the Anastasia Dipbrow, and compared to my other naked eyebrow. So I'm just going to go finish my other eyebrow. And then I'm going to use a brow gel to set them, since I do still have some hairs and those hairs are kind of unruly. I'm using Anastasia's clear brow gel. A drugstore option would be a clear mascara. Maybelline Great Lash makes a clear mascara that works really well as brow gel. And so I'm just going to kind of pat that on the front where I don't have any hair, just to lock in the product even more, and then comb down the hairs on the outside part. Since the eyes are a little dramatic for the daytime, I'm not going to do anything crazy with the lip. I'm just going to kind of give them a little wash of color. This is from the Maybelline Color Whisper line, and it's in the color One Size Fits Pearl. This is what it looks like in the tube. That's not the color that it comes out as. It's very, very sheer, as you can see, but it just gives just a little wash of color. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them down below in the comment section. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.